History's elephant in the room. The big picture, I think, gets less and less blurry the more we investigate, the more we research, the more we dig into the past. Welcome, everybody, to Open Class Doodles episode 30. 30 already. And today with me, I got like heavy baggage, heavy luggage, great pals, and great warriors for the light, for the search of truth, and for undigging, and unearthing and disclosing Earth's mysteries and having a little fun in the process. So, welcome to Tactical Doodles for Success. Again, this is Tuesday, the COACHMC studio, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This is the place where we'll help you actors, performers, entertainers, creative minds to really shape unique behavior deliveries and to stand out in the audition room, no matter what you're auditioning for, where the audition takes place. Because in the end, it's all about communicating ideas in a manifold, remarkable, impactful way. And shows like this one, where it's all about history and mystery and about ancient tradition and, understanding our roots, basically. They give us a visceral, subconscious addition to our skill set. They give us some more input that is coming more from the right hemisphere of things. It's not analytical. It's not completely, 100% bulletproof research. It's not hard facts and evidence all the time. It's more assumptions, ideas, and inspiration, and kind of connecting the dots. So welcome everybody to this brand new episode of Open Class Doodle. And today, this is our fourth or fifth show together, the three of us. And we're going to dive in history's elephant in the room, the Bronze Age. So without any further ado, let's dive in today's video and let's see what's cooking. I mean, and me alone, it's just not fun anymore, right? We got used to these annoying voices, to these interruptions, and to these, professional derailers and tangent kings on the stream. We need them somehow, right? To kind of, stay up to date with the currents of the street and with understanding the world. We can't just survive in our little echo chamber in our biohemisphere over here at the COACHMC studio. We need some strong additions to this program because we need to tackle a very strong and very powerful enemy. So we're coming for Sauron today. With me, Dragon Slayer commentaries, and of course, Ryan Roger Athay. Welcome, you fellow bigots.
Hey, how's it going, man? Ryan, you muted yourself.
It's always the same thing. What is
I
wrong
do
with you?
apologize, ladies and gentlemen. It seems I'm having more technical issues on my end. That's what happens when you overheat your new laptop. So I guess I better dip out and then come back in.
Why don't you take it away, Dragon Slayer commentators, and tell us all who you are and where we can find you?
No, yeah, definitely. Hey guys, my name is Dragon from Dragon Slayer Commentaries. I make sarcastic commentary on all the things happening currently in the world of Hollywood, mostly the dumpster fire TV shows and movies. And I really, really try to bring you guys my honest opinion all the time. Yes, I might get a little goofy. Yes, I might say some crazy inflammatory words. But at the end of the day, the whole point is to get a message across, which is the honest opinion of a single man. And that's what I do every single day. And I'm always here on YouTube, though I do interact on Twitter/X all the time. And I do upload all my content as well on Rumble if you just don't like YouTube. Under the same name, by the way.
My systems are working properly. Because I didn't want to, be on the whole stream just seeing Coach's face. Because it just froze up for me. Yeah,
I understand.
I think it's because my computer's overheating, so I've turned off the battery power, and I'm gonna wait until it runs down before putting it back on. But it's great to see everyone, and hopefully you will all enjoy today's show, where we talk about the Bronze Age collapse and what we think of it.
Yes, very, very interesting. Thank you so much, Chad, for being here. Dungeon Master Blaster, Vinsinger, Thank you so much also to the Facebook and Instagram crowd. Why don't you join us over here in the course of the show if you already kind of like what you're hearing, always watching on that little screen. It's also damaging your eyes, your neural connections, get a nice desktop screen, open it up, get rid of your underwear, just sit there and enjoy what we're talking about. It's such a beautiful
Okay.
it's such a
Instead of
beautiful
skinny dipping,
opportunity.
is skinny dipping watching. Okay. I never heard that before.
And yes, once you
Okay.
hear why don't you leave just a little like, just press that little like button just really quick. Yeah, thank you. And another episode of our Indiana Jones type of adventures, where we kind of dive into the past that seems so boring and so nonchalant. It just sits there. It's already told. It's somewhere in some old dusty books in some libraries that we can't access in the Vatican or in the London Society or somewhere else. But no, actually in the past, there is really good material for great stories and some great truths that haven't been uncovered so far. And maybe also for some mysteries and that can inspire us and lead us somewhere else with our thoughts. And maybe also some stuff like we covered with Mithra, right? There are some interesting connections with all these countries, all these flags, and that friggin' cap, right? So sometimes we can make actual connections. Sometimes it's more our fantasy that gets inspired by this. Sometimes it's an actual research. But for many reasons, we seem to enjoy these archaeological digs digitally.
And you look at the Bronze Age, folks, that connection between the Age of Stone, which was incredibly long, and then the Age of Iron, which was also quite long. You have this small period of the Bronze Age where the first metal works were forged, and then it suddenly, out of nowhere, the innovation of iron smelting came to be, and the Bronze Age was very, very short. That kind of innovation doesn't just happen quickly, especially in recorded history. So it's worth investigating.
Absolutely. And the first thing I want to show you, it's the typical thing that we see when we face this topic, when we talk about the Bronze Age. And I know Dragon Slayer wants to kind of come in with this, because it's to me it's so telling and so funny how disingenuous sometimes these institutions are treating us, and what they're catering to us in terms of information and knowledge and science and research, or what it has given to us. So if we look at at the first pictures, like this is like I said, it's super funny. So if we talk about Bronze Age, usually what you get to see is, hey, we got Hypnotic, joining.
We do.
Say, man, hey, it's
the mass hoe is here. Welcome,
Oh,
Overlord.
yeah.
Prepare to be bored
Hail,
to
Overlord.
death, Hypnotic. Prepare
Oh,
to be
man.
bored to death. Please carry on, Coach.
Oh my
So
God.
here's a very, very funny thing that right away kind of captures the idea of what science is always trying to tell us, right? When they tell us that this is the Bronze Age, right here, they're talking about, it's roughly 3,500 BC to roughly 1,100 BC. This is where the Bronze Age happened over extensive, extensive places like in Northern Europe, Eastern Europe, also in ways of Asia. And they always tell us this, right? We see those wild people, right? Those brutes, we see those barbarians, like with their leather skin and whatever, and they're handling casts of iron, of bronze. They're melting metals with these pretty sophisticated instruments, right? Somehow there's like this manufacturing going on, but everything else looks super primitive, super rural, super basic, right? This is usually the picture that academia tries to give us, right? Even if you're going into, what is it here, World History Encyclopedia, into Encyclopedia Britannica, into, of course, we have our History Channel, Disney.com, right? They always tell us this. Yeah, very ugly people, right? Very ugly people, right? With almost no funds, nothing whatsoever, no technology, living in these, shelters, sometimes better houses. and developing bronze and developing these weapons and starting to create all these, swords and all, manufacturing all these things.
Really
And right
does
away,
underestimate the people of the time. I mean, if you look at the demographics of the Mediterranean, everyone was European folks, whether you
yes,
like it or not, in that
yes,
regard. So the same people who built the pyramids only just started forging metal.
yes.
Does seem a bit suspicious.
It
Of
does
course,
seem a
no
bit
mention.
suspicious,
Well,
right?
I was just going to say, Coach, of course, no mention of Africa, real Africa
Oh,
in this
yes.
situation because they've
Hmm.
never developed.
Well,
It
doesn't Egypt count?
No, North
no.
Africa, Mediterranean basin,
Uh-huh.
full of white Europeans, Dragon.
Oh my
No, North
god.
Africa does not count.
But the ancient Egyptians even mentioned like they didn't belong to like the Mediterraneans. Like they thought of them as barbarians, like well then again, back then everybody considered
Yes,
everybody else barbarians.
yes.
But
We
yeah,
yes,
if you do make it clear, yes, eventually you could say that in ancient Egypt, yes, there was some mixing due to the fact that in that Mediterranean Sea there was a lot of trade
Yeah,
occurring, especially during that time.
it's
You know.
remarkable how many modern people think that the world and the peoples of today have always been in the same place, which couldn't be further from the truth. I mean, Europeans, our home, our basin, is actually a mix of Europe and the Middle East, whereas the Arabs, their home is Arabia, and then they spread like a virus across the world. And all these different
yes.
peoples have
That's
their
an
different
excellent.
origin points.
Yes.
Hmm.
So the Romans, or what we tend to believe the Roman population, the Roman Empire was, according to what we have as accounts, is that they described some sort. Everybody who was outside of the border must have been a non-educated one, right? Because he
Hmm.
wasn't like a noble Roman one. So everyone else outside of the, basically outside of the walls of Rome, even not necessarily of Italy, because there was no such thing as Italy as we call it today, right? It was the Roman Empire was way more extended. So to them it was Rome. So everything outside of the city walls of Rome was actually a barbarian, somebody who lived barbary, who lived out there like without any sewer system, without any thermal bathing rooms and public toilets and all that. Everybody else was considered to be a brute, kind of worshiping ancient demons and all that stuff. But we know that Romans had two ways of kind of looking at that. That was the official narrative that was handed down to the population in order to create this big enemy picture that outside of Rome, everybody was, potentially an enemy, a rapist, someone who could threaten their lives. So stay inside of Rome, pay your taxes there, consider everyone potentially an enemy. So you would, you stay in the safe harbor. So they knew exactly that this picture wasn't actually accurate, that they were not really believing that everybody outside of Rome was wild people and some lunatics and crazy cannibals running around only with some sheepskin or leather skin on there. This is what
Well,
they told people, but they knew
yeah, it's
that
a
it
good
was actually
mindset to
looking
have,
different.
though, Coach, and that's why Rome, in one way, shape, or form, lasted about 2,000 years from the earliest days of the foundation of Rome. I think recently Rome had its 2,777th birthday recently, or this
Yes,
year rather,
yeah,
Oh,
they,
it
and
did.
and for
yes,
over the course of, I'd say, from the 5th century BC until the dying days of the 1400s, in one way, shape, or form, Roman culture existed from what we now know as the birth of Rome and the Roman Republic until the fall of Constantinople in, was it the mid 1400s? Was it the late
it's
1400s? One of
1492 actually. Literally I think it was the
yeah, the
year Columbus sailed for the New
right.
World, which is very prophetic and convenient. But
Yes,
yes,
absolutely.
yeah, it was
But
definitely they lasted for a while though. Yeah.
and we're asking ourselves this: and this is what also academia always asks, like, yeah, what caused the Bronze Age to collapse? Like, how come, these somehow already kind of, pretty sophisticated workers and skilled men, how come we experienced that shift from Bronze Age to what we have now as a modern civilization? And we're going to uncover some of the mysteries of the Bronze Age. I believe we can also deliver a true answer to this, because the Bronze Age, in my opinion, this is a smokescreen. Again, this is like a false narrative to kind of lead you into a wrong direction. It didn't really collapse. It's just, it just migrated into something else. It was absorbed, but it developed into it never really collapsed. But history has, these history channels and these, mainstream media, legacy media, they have this way of kind of painting it as sort of, these were like, the Neanderthals and their culture collapsed, and that culture collapsed, and so we always took over. But it's actually a transformation. It's actually an absorption and assimilation. It's never a collapse and then the rise of something else. And think about the Roman Empire as well. Again, it might have looked different than what we portray today. But it really didn't collapse. It just went to the north, and then it was absorbed by the upcoming Franken Empire, and what then later became the German Empire.
The foreign influence. Remember this, Americans. Foreign influence caused the split of the Roman Empire between West and East. The West got swallowed up by what we now know as a Franco-German people. And the East turned into the Eastern Roman Empire, also known as the Byzantine Empire, to the Holy Romans, the Germanics who took over the Roman Empire. So, learn from history, folks. If it happened to Rome, it'll certainly happen to Washington. But what I find, I'd just like to say, though, Coach, what I find extraordinary, though, is how Stone Age Homo sapien actually discovered smelting of metal.
Yes,
it
and
doesn't seem very easy to master.
We will get into that, we will get into that. Which again, already with this picture, you see that to me, this is clearly disingenuous attempt to paint a population as something that it wasn't, right? Because what you're seeing here, that you have your melting stick and your preparation, and then you have your hot fire, and if you look at them in the background, they look like Stone Age. They look almost like Neanderthals, but this is metallurgy. This is high connaissance of elements and fire and bringing different. Remember, bronze isn't something that you find just in nature like this. You have to create it, and it's actually a pretty. Yes, it's not that difficult, but it's nonetheless a pretty sophisticated, procedure. And
for these kinds of people, it would be almost impossible. And
absolutely, if you paint them like this, yes.
Well, it creates a sort of chicken and the egg mindset, because I don't know of any piece of wood on planet Earth that can survive the same burning temperature as metal, any kind of metal.
And plus, and I want to hear also Dragon Slayer's take on that.
Yeah, sure.
Creating metals, guys. Like,
the metal.
Again, look at them. They look like Brutus, right? Again, what I point out is here that you have such exquisite, right, excellence in craftsmanship, but yet they still want to tell you, but this was just coincidental. These were brutes. These were barbarians. These were just funky folks. They had no civilization. No, Bronze Age. It's dark. It's sticky. It's totally boring. So these people crafted this.
They can't read. They can't write. They can't count. They can't think.
But somehow they cast metal. They have casting forms. They have the right molds. They know metallurgy. They know the mixture of the chemicals.
Cities.
They maintain cities, they have the right temperature. So what is your take on this? Like, how is this coming together, Dragon Slayer?
Well, here's the interesting part. I was mentioning, I always find it fascinating how they portray them, because it's sort of like that take of, there's a semblance of intelligence in that one, but remember, they're still violent brutes. Remember all the wars that we cover and how violent some of their kings or warlords were, and all the violating and pillaging, right? And then
Right.
and then people don't seem to understand that in human history, peace is a rarity, or long periods of peace are a rarity, and periods of on and off conflict are quite regular. However, most of these Bronze Age societies would have found it more beneficial to trade with each other rather than go to war directly with their trade partners. They would have been mostly fighting wars with their next door neighbor who maybe didn't have this trade partner that they're dealing with over the sea. And it
Hmm.
would have been more of local skirmishes where for long periods of time nothing would be happening. And I find it
Exactly.
also more fascinating of like the culture aspect. You see, unfortunately, in our current day history, it seems that even introducing the simple topic of, hey, maybe these guys acquired their advanced knowledge from someone prior. Okay, you could say, oh, maybe it was their grandparents. Well, where did they get it from? And you can
Exactly.
ask that question over and over again.
Yeah, the
And then
chicken and
people,
the egg
yeah,
problem. I do
exactly.
understand that because
Yeah.
even the concept of civilization seems insane from the
Yeah.
perspective of someone who has no
Hmm.
education beyond the
Yeah.
natural
Absolutely.
world.
Exactly. But these people obviously had more education. Sure, they may have looked exactly like they may have looked like brutes. Maybe they didn't. Who knows? Because the funny
Hmm.
fact is, all we have at the end of the day are skull fragments that, some experts can reconstruct, and we get some general idea of that specific individual. Or we can look at murals and get a general idea. But for some odd fucking reason, when I look at the murals and these statues of how people depicted their heroes or their gods, it seems to me that these people looked exactly like how you or I would look like, just with slightly different hairstyles, different clothing,
Well, I
and
mean,
maybe a lot of
Ryan's
and
hairstyle, I
beards.
think, is eternal. Yeah,
Yeah,
Ryan's
yeah,
hairstyle and
yeah.
grooming is, I think, is an
I know
eternal
how they
thing.
discovered it.
He was already
Time
on Vogue
travel.
3,000 years ago, guys. He was already
It's
on
ti-
Vogue
it
3000.
it's time travel, folks. It makes
What's
perfect
up,
sense.
Hey,
Golden
man.
Geek? Yes,
Great to see
what's
Goldie.
up?
I hope you're doing well. But it's very simple. The future discovers time travel to ensure and teach everyone how to be civilized so that our past can be our past, which leads to the future where we create time travel to teach our ancestors how to live.
And
So it's like
somehow,
Stargate?
yes, and somehow these
Stargate and Doctor
societies,
Who fusion?
it's truly like that. It's somehow a fusion, and somehow these societies that invented like the scavenger chronology, the Royal Society of London, and also the Paris Royal Society. All these societies, they created these narratives, right? Darwin, Watts, all these people, they created these great narratives, scavenger, where we kind of fit in Einstein with, of course, with our Jesuit priest help. And for some time, these narratives, these theories, because remember, they're all called theories, they held up until, of course, we're finding archaeological remains that are telling us otherwise, right? Remember Schliemann, we covered him here with the history of Troy, right? Everybody believed Troy. Oh, that's a legend. That's a myth. Oh, you're hunting ghosts, my good sir. Bada boom, until you find that stuff. And then all of a sudden you have to rewrite history. We know our good friend Havasi from the Egyptology Institute in Cairo. For 35 years he was claiming, no, there is nothing more old than the Sphinx. It's the oldest building here, right? There's not. And then you find Göbekli Tepe and you have to kind of rewrite history. And the same thing is true over here for the Bronze Age, because for a while these theories kind of, yeah, okay, they worked until they found this.
Ooh.
And what this is, it is
Ooh.
probably one of the most critical finds in recent archaeology that ever was unearthed. And it has rewritten history as we know it. Because this, ladies and gentlemen, is the eldest depiction of celestial events in metal that we have on planet Earth. And it is from the Bronze Age. It was found in Germany, in Eastern Germany. It's called Mittelgebirge, which it kind of translates as the middle mountain range or the middle mountain, which is actually just a small hill, close to a city called Nibra. And this sky disk, the sky disk from Nibra, shows in different time periods, because there were things added to this sky disk, a lot of very peculiar things. And even though it's coming out of the Bronze Age, right now we will discover what this thing is. It carries, as simple as this thing looks, it carries a very explosive message from the past that probably forces us to rewrite the Bronze Age. And therefore, again, it's not about a collapse, but where did it go and what happened with the Bronze Age and what really was the Bronze Age in the first place? Because I think we have a big misunderstanding here that was written over the last 5 decades about what the Bronze Age truly is.
How big is this? Is this like a coin or a plate?
No, this is actually quite big. Let me just, this is my palette that I use for drawing, for painting, and it's roughly this size as a circle.
Oh,
So I would say
So
this
it's quite
is
detailed. Okay, yeah.
yeah, it's quite detailed, and it's quite large. And so when you look at this thing firsthand, what you see, of course, we immediately deduct. I mean, there's a sun probably here, and this is probably the moon. And we know this from down here. This could be a bark or some sort of a boat, right? Down here, maybe. And then we have a lot of stars. But that's basically it. In the first, like when you look at it firsthand, just very quickly. And this is what happened when they found it the first time. They really haven't thought about this artifact at all a lot. And then a German researcher kind of looked back at this a couple of years later and said, holy moly, wait a second. This star formation here, these are the Pleiades, the 7-star cluster.
I was gonna say, like, cause Dungeon Master also was wondering, like, hey,
Right.
are those 7 clustered dots like supposed to mention like the sister stars, the Pleiades? And yes, you were right. Our theory was correct, sir.
Yes.
I find it very fascinating. Though I'm curious, like yeah, you see, he's very happy of himself.
Your dangerous theory is a threat to our democracy, Dragon.
Oh,
yes.
shit! I'm sorry for mentioning, the
Mystery
fucking,
Accidents, part
the 7
27.
systems.
Oops. Right.
Yeah. I disappear. If you don't hear from me in 4 weeks, I've disappeared. Yeah, I've been abducted by government agencies. Right.
Oh,
But
no.
what I find interesting is like the 2 elliptical lines here on the edges. What I feel like does that have some significance of it, or am I thinking,
Yes.
Big Dipper, Little
No,
Dipper?
absolutely.
I don't know. Maybe I'm
that's
overthinking.
that's a great question. So researchers have established that this is the oldest sky representation, the oldest documented celestial formation on metal. And so, which is again also very interesting. This was found in Germany. This wasn't found somewhere in the Middle East or in Egypt or down in Africa. So, already that gives us a hint. This was found in the Middle Bronze Age. This was crafted in the Middle Bronze Age in the north of the Alps. That was considered, even by mainstream academia, yeah, this is the territory of the barbarians, of the uncultured, of the uncivilized people. Now, I want to show you something about this sky disk. There is something really interesting. So, researchers have found out that sky disk was manufactured in layers. There was an original first layer, the oldest one, and 2 layers, actually 3 layers, were placed on top in a span of 400 years. So this thing in the beginning looked a little bit like this. It was very schematic, it was very simple, and it just showed the sun. Even though there are debates going on about what this full circle, this sphere actually is, what type of planet it is, but let's assume this is the sun, and we have the moon here, and these are the Pleiades, and this is the star constellation back then in the Bronze Age, and we will get closer to which point. So this was the first layer of production. And the second layer then, a couple of 100 years later, was added by someone else. And they added these two side bars, if you want to call them so, right? These these sidebars. And what they stand for is on the mountaintop where this thing was found, on both equinoxes of the year, these side bars that you find are exactly 82 degrees, and they are representing exactly the 2 days of the year, 21st of March and 21st of October, I think it is, when we have the spring equinox and the eastern and the fall equinox.
Oh,
And you have
okay.
the exact transition of the sun left and right when you stand on that exact mountain. And afterwards, you will see the Pleiades exactly in this position where you can find it now. So they were indicating the equinox. Now, from the initial picture, right, where we have just an observation of the sky, and this could be something very simple. Okay, we have full moon, we have the Pleiades. Hey, they look nice. So this could be, like a very rough concept, nothing too elaborate. And here we don't see any advanced civilization or anything mysterious per se. Even though, of course, it's a bronze disk, it's pretty huge, it's well worked. I mean, we will talk about that later. But just from the observational standpoint, it's technically it's not so much of a deal what we see here.
Yeah.
Only
You know what this
later.
proves? Sorry, I just want to mention something real quick.
No,
One
no,
thing that this dish
absolutely.
definitely proves, even if it falls within mainstream's, I guess established timeline, it still makes it. It's still, I can understand why it would have upset it, because this is basically saying, because for the longest time, you understand, if you remember, mainstream historical academia has always said, oh yeah, there were all these cultures that existed all the time, but you got to understand, like, certain groups were in constant contact with each other and traded and such, but like not everybody in the continents of Europe and Asia and Arabia and even Northern Africa, for example, they weren't like that interconnected, like we are today. But this dish is
Yes.
showing us that may have been the opposite. May have been that
Yes.
trade.
That's a
Who would
yes.
have known trade spread culture and science and
Isn't that amazing?
and philosophy. Think about
Yes,
it. It does it
absolutely.
with us. We just do it faster, but theirs are slower, but it's the same thing. So of course
Thank
they're
you,
going to be worried.
capitalism. Thank you.
No, yeah.
No,
I
but
just
we
find it
mentioned
very
this
fascinating.
last time. How crazy is that, right? That these symbols were actually trading symbols. We mentioned East India Trading Company is the same thing as the Cilician pirates were to the Pontus Greeks, right? Back then, in the time of the Greek Empire, of the Persian Empire, when the Mithra religion kind of spread out. And the same thing is true over here. It's the trading companies that are bringing the culture, that are representing. The trading company is always representing some sort of a religion, some sort of a faith. Because from the initial picture of the sky disk, we see just a celestial observation. But already here, we have the equinoxes perfectly. The equinoxes that are just working from that point, from that specific point in Germany. So in order to invest time, money, effort, and a lot of labor to get to a certain mountain at a certain date, at a certain time, at a certain period, to insert this onto the disk, first shows us that the disk was somehow venerated or very important to the people. It wasn't just a random piece of art that was laying around, because for many years that has been the argument by, again, academia doesn't try to explain that there could be a population behind this, or some sort of advanced thinking or a different culture that wasn't discovered. No, they're always trying to ridicule the findings, whether it's Smithsonian, whether it's the British Institute of Royal Research, of Observation. They always try to put the research findings down, always try to ridicule them, belittle them, make them small, put them in a very niche type of context, and try to make it look like that this was some sort of like a capricious extravaganza of some niche culture that really had no influence on the broader scope, on the broader culture, on the big narrative of things.
I mean,
But here we
for all we
clearly see,
know, ladies and gentlemen, this thing could have been on top of a solid stone structure on the top of a hill, in which what you see there shows where the sun usually is and where the moon usually is at this period. And as Coach said with the equinoxes, at this time of year, the sun rises over there and sets over there. And it depends on the season, depending on the line in question. Because as we all know, folks, during the winter time, the sun sets far earlier and rises later, and in the summertime, the sun rises earlier and sets later. So you can see that. I don't know what that line is. Could be a boat. It could be a tapeworm, because that was probably an
yeah,
issue
it's
back then.
interesting.
Sure. Just put a tapeworm. Just throw it in there.
No, but you
Oh no,
clearly
it's crazy.
see that here you have all these single lines, so that they are almost describing artistically that this was, sort of, you see that there is some sort of motion, these lines, right? They want to tell us that this thing was moving, right? That this was something. You see all these fine lines here. Da, 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 da. This is made with such precision and accuracy. They really wanted to make sure that you understand that here the bodies are fixed.
Is that bronze
They're
and gold?
fixed. That's bronze and gold, indeed.
Yeah, it's bronze and gold.
Right.
Yeah. They, believe it or not, it's very interesting. So, you showed us the previous two versions, but if we see this new version, there were the slight changes that they made were basically where where the summer and fall, sorry, the spring and fall equinox are now
Yes.
starting. So with this version, this third layer, so to speak, they're telling us, whoever made it at the time, they're saying, hey, at this, when I make this is the most up to date version of what direction you'll find the spring and fall
Yeah.
equinoxes from, and how the constellations will look at this exact time. And it would have worked for at least
Oh, yes.
a couple of decades, centuries, maybe even,
Yes.
because from our position, the stars, they take quite a long time to move out of certain degrees of certain position. Like, it takes thousands of years.
Yes.
So
In
this
the
would have been
in
very
that
convenient to anybody traveling
exactly.
to places.
And exactly that's my point, because now we're getting to something even more mysterious. So you see these circles here, these
Okay.
were added as the last thing to the celestial disk, to the sky disk. And researchers have found out that somehow that means that this thing here, this disk, was attached to something, that it was then later on carried on some sort of a device. You can clearly see maybe it was a metal stick, maybe it was placed on an altar or something that could be moved, or like a stone, but definitely it was placed onto something. And this is why this artifact is so fascinating, because we can literally see hundreds of years of development and different layers and different things that happen. So what you were saying right now is, I believe, completely spot on. This thing is some sort of an Google Maps of the sky from 4,000 years ago, 5,000 years ago.
Yeah,
It just
Wherever
shows
you
how
were.
profound our
Mhm.
ancestors were, and that the origin story of not just humanity, but of the concept of civilization, the creation of agriculture, even the establishment of things like feudalism, were not just by mere chance, folks. That's why I believe in cycle theory myself, and that is why I
Mhm.
believe that ultimately either someone is coming to destroy us all so someone else can come along and do it better, or we literally created our past so the future could exist.
Yeah, I believe that could be a very good point. Like, we have the John Titor stories, and we have some other interesting stories that are telling us that the past was actually our future, as crazy as that sounds, right?
Mm.
Because
Hmm.
we know that the stuff that we found in the past is absolutely unexplainable. We can't replicate it. There is no way of rebuild it. We don't know how they did it. There is just this huge chasm between us and our past. It seems that our past and everything was far more advanced than we are now for pretty much everything from city building to urbanism to everything there. And so it looks almost like the more we go into the future, the more we regress, the less we know how to build things, how we make things last, how we can create something that is actually beautiful, that has function and grace at the same time. It seems like the more we go into the past, we see more and more beauty, more and more grace, more and more craftsmanship. So the theory of a regressing linear timeline, I think, is out of the window.
I think the reliance on technology causes that. And once people are too dependent on said technology, then when it fails, the people fail, and then civilization collapses, then we're back to where we originally started in that regard.
So this is
Yeah.
how it looked from the mountaintop when you were using the sky disk as a Google Maps for the celestial events, right? And so
Where'd
therefore
you get
what you
these
see here,
pictures, or did you draw them yourself?
no,
Just
no, I
wrote
wanted
in.
to draw them, but I found actually a pretty good resource, and this is actually from the museum. This is all you can visit
Oh
this.
wow.
They don't publicize it a lot in Germany. Actually, it's really funny. This is a complete earth-shattering artifact. This could be in some way. It could be it's really a very precious piece and in Germany you don't hear about it. They don't teach it at school. They somehow mention it. It's still regarded in even in some university circles and cycles. It's still regarded. Oh, but this could be fake, right? It could be composite over the years. They still don't want to acknowledge it. But here we have another piece of evidence from the museum that shows us. So this is the equinox, and it's not the equinox. This is the solstice. So if you were
Mhm.
standing on the middle range mountain by Nibra, where this was found, and you were exactly off, these are the equinoxes here. So from one equinox to the other, we have the exact center line of the solstice. So one solstice was happening here, and the other one was happening there. So they were not only indicating the equinoxes, they were also indicating the solstices that were happening. And this is the German mountain called Brocken, which has an incredible old tradition in German history, folklore, a lot of shamanistic founds and archaeological founds have been retrieved there. So that's a very it's a worship. It's like a holy mountain over here in the Badlands in Dakota. It's one of those mountains where
Oh.
the ancestors believed that the mountains there really had power, that the ghosts of the past were talking to them, that they were sitting there, similar to some mountain aspects in India. And so on Nebra, this mountain seemed to be important for them so much that they wanted, to kind of map the how the sun, how the stars, how the moon was revolving around Earth.
Well,
Question.
it's a good job that the East Germans didn't find this sky disk, otherwise they would have just destroyed it completely. But go
Oh
on,
Yes.
Dragon.
no, I was gonna ask like I was gonna initially ask, if there was like any more artifacts discovered, but I think you answered my question earlier by saying that there were. But my
Hmm.
my 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 idea was with this. I was thinking like, okay, well, this is a place of power, according to a lot of the
Hmm.
spiritual
Hmm.
cultures that existed at the time. So at that point, my mind starts to think, well, maybe based off of what we talked about with disc and the holes in them, you know,
Hmm.
wouldn't the place where this have been found? Let's just go on the hypothesis that maybe the site where this mountain was found may actually have been originally the site of a temple. Who knows for what? Or
Hmm.
maybe it was a very important area because of its energy concentration. Who knows? But
Hmm.
the question remains to me: if you had a temple built on that area and you housed this thing, then that would become very convenient because then you have a place where, maybe the building is designed to shine a light on certain golden parts of the dish to let you know when
Yes.
the spring and fall equinoxes are coming. It helps you.
Yes.
It could have easily helped whoever was an astronomer at the time figure out, how many years has passed, how things are looking weather-wise. It would have been a very helpful tool. And the little holes, it might have been actually just an order for a couple of metal bars to stand it up, prop it up.
Mm-hmm.
I would think so. My mind kind of went a little bit fantastical, saying, "Oh, this thing is like to spin it around and like a bunch of gears in the background." But if we're being realistic, it was probably meant to like uphold the dish in a more elevated position and only
Mm-hmm.
meant to house it and preserve it. And then for maybe
Mm-hmm.
somebody from priesthood or some sort of spiritual leadership would have taken it out on certain occasions to figure things out with it. But I don't know. That's all I keep thinking. Like, man, this
Is
this
it just
mountain
me, or
looks more like a temple.
is he breaking away? You're breaking away, my
Huh?
good sir, or is it just
What?
me
What?
hearing him like the Ryan?
Oh,
Is
is
he
it?
good for you?
Am I good?
You're breaking. You're
Oh,
breaking
I
away.
didn't
No.
hear anything Dragon said, Coach. It was just complete silence.
What do you mean? What do you mean? What? No, no way.
No, I can hear him fine, Coach.
Yeah. Okay.
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 Okay. And then
I
No,
wish I
sorry. I
could.
was
it's
talking. I
fine.
was talking in a very normal, calm tone. I wasn't
That's the
trying to like.
problem. We're not
I was
we're
very
not used to
calm.
that. You're not pitching your voice.
Yeah.
You're not impersonating someone else. What's wrong with you?
The
Nothing. It's just.
impact of this disc, though, has been minimized or minimalized for a very important reason. It is a great
Yes.
discovery in a part of the
Mm-hmm.
world where, under conventional, what's the word I'm looking for? History. Yes, under conventional history, should be a barren wasteland of barbarians and lunatics, and they discover this piece of wonder, and what do? They bury it, for lack of a better term,
Of
in a
course.
boring German museum designed by a former communist, most likely. Make it as boring.
Yeah, it's
Oh, I wouldn't be surprised.
Mm.
There, I'm back. Okay, is that better?
it's always the same method, right? Play it down, belittle the findings, always act as if you're surprised, but then in the same way also don't give too much about it. So kind of ridicule it, make it small. Don't bother too much about it. Kind of, this is a sensational finding. It's an incredible finding, and if this would have been like, let's say, an American researcher finding this somewhere in Mexico, this would be all over the place, tours, bada boom, you name it, press shows, History Channel, everybody's around it, Disney, documentary, Netflix, you name it. Oh, we found something that is slightly contradicting the Scaliger chronology and kind of, shedding a lot of noise, right? Making a lot of, like Göbekli Tepe. So we try to handle it by making it boring and place it somewhere where nobody interested, nobody's looking for it anymore. Again, they haven't changed anything about the so-called people, right? They said, yeah, it's still them. It's still the brutes, the barbarians. Look at them, these stupid people. But somehow they created bronze, right? Which is a 96.4 because you need also zinc. You need some other materials. Zinc wasn't natural to Germany back then, so you had to get it somewhere.
And
You
copper.
need to
Don't
get
forget
copper and copper, of course. And so you needed materials, you needed trade routes, you needed communication, you needed exchange. There was definitely money involved. And then you create a spiritual and also almost religious artifact that was perfectly mapping the equinoxes, the solstices, that was definitely very important, if not of ritual, but of religious belief, maybe to a large group of people. All this effort to create something like that doesn't come from from rudimentary thinking people that were just trying to survive. This is advanced, sophisticated culture.
No,
And
Yes.
not many people know how to do it in this day and age.
And-
Metallurgy is quite complex, even for modern standards.
No, it is, and if you're saying that the people beyond the veil, or so to speak, or even the
Mhm.
people within the cities, we're not as advanced as we were, then how the hell did they figure out? Man, if I'm gonna smelt something, I gotta make a piece of reinforced metal that can withstand those high temperatures, so that the metal handle does not melt, and I can make a weapon or pottery or armor or protective casing for a chariot, a building.
Devotional
Yeah,
artifacts, right? All
anything,
this.
like literally anything. There is more to metallurgy than just war, and that is something that unfortunately historians, or
Mm.
not historians, but mostly just modern history in general, they
Well,
have
most
this
of the
obsession.
population of that
Yeah.
era were generalized. They weren't
Yeah, they
specialized.
were exactly. They
No.
just
The more specialty a civilization has can be directly correlated to the advancement of recorded civilizations. Over time, the more our populations have grown, the less generalized knowledge has been the way, and the more specialized knowledge has been the way. That's why the vast majority of people cannot unclog their own fucking toilet, whereas our ancestors, each and every one of them, knew
yeah.
how to smelt, how to ride a horse,
Yes.
how to
Yes.
hunt or gather.
I
It
once
was out
was
of necessity.
yeah, I was once while I was living I lived in Rome for 6 years, and
Mhm.
of course I went to all the museums and all the temples. Of course I enjoyed that part of living in Rome a lot. Others a bit less. Oh, what's happening? Are you losing? We need no. It's okay.
Oh
Oh, okay.
no. Okay,
Coach is
Hypno.
having
Better
Ah,
technical
better clip this.
difficulties.
I'm having technique. You're not listening.
I can hear you, Coach. If you
Okay.
can't hear us, it may be a issue on your end. You may have to
No.
refresh.
Oh no, over here
No,
it
he's
seems to
good.
work fine. Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
okay.
he's good now.
So one day I was strolling and I was close to the Pantheon and I saw this group, and the group leader, the tour guide of this group at the Pantheon Plaza, beautiful plaza there in Rome, was speaking German. So I've kind of just joined the group and I was just listening to what she was saying. And then, yeah, sure enough, we were, behind the Pantheon, you can, go up the small hill and see almost onto the beautiful dome of the Pantheon. And she was explaining with no problems at all, like, yeah. So the Pantheon is there now for over 1,500 years, and this is the third largest, free-pending dome on planet Earth. And the Romans achieved this incredible feature of architecture by using the world-famous Roman cement. And then I asked in German, "Oh yeah, and do we have some of that cement today?" And she looked at me, is like, "What do you mean?" It's like, hey, if Romans achieved to mix
Yeah.
cement 2,000 years ago, able to withhold 42 meters in diameter, a stone dome with a hole in the middle, with no other support, and just holding it, then why don't we just extract some of that cement from the dome, reverse engineer it in our laboratories, and we produce it forever and ever? If we have
They
cement
did
that can
that.
last for,
You
yeah,
know what's crazy? They
yes.
tried doing that, and then they found out that unfortunately, the cement could only work up to a certain height. Anything
Mhm.
beyond that, it would start to break down. And
Yes.
and at the time that modern civilization was heavily industrializing and blowing up, technologically
Right.
speaking, there was a big demand for skyscrapers, and unfortunately, Roman cement was not very good with skyscrapers.
Right.
They could not support such a height, and so
Yes.
they just decided to just ignore it and not even mention the fact that, yeah, we can replicate it. It's just that it's not good for our purposes. And then
It's not
I'm
Even the
for
like,
our.
concept, though, Dragon,
yeah,
of a skyscraper. Try tell an ancient human the concept of a skyscraper. It's a very, very tall building which a lot of people live in, and they will look at you like you have 50 fucking heads. Who would want to live in basically a gigantic stick which could be blown over with a gust of wind? Because
yeah,
that's how
no,
they would see
that's
it.
yeah, that's how they would see it, and they would think like, what kind of idiot goes inside? What if
Yeah.
somebody attacks you and like blows
You
up your
want
only
With a
way to
flying
escape?
he
bird, or
he
maybe
already
two
Yeah,
wants to
flying
talk about the
birds.
next open class doodles when we're
Mm.
yeah.
gonna We're going to explore the mysteries of the ancient skyscrapers. There's a mystery of ancient skyscrapers as well.
Oh, that's
But I
right.
just want to show you something beforehand, which is also truly interesting. So very close to where the sky disk, because you were, of course, saying, was there anything that was found close to that mountain, like a temple or something? And Lord and behold, the oldest
What?
sun observatory on planet Earth was found not very far away, again in Gozek. And this thing here is staggering old. Staggering old. There is...
I knew it. I knew it.
Very good.
God damn it, I knew it.
Very good, sir.
You
Yes.
know nothing, dragon. You know nothing.
Yes, I know everything, because I know a big mountain make people want to pray to it and make a bunch of
Of
Does that
course.
look like a
Yeah.
mountain?
constellations. There is a temple nearby always. Right, what?
And you
Sorry, go
and
ahead,
you
go.
see also here, you pretty, you well see that this temple here, this temple, circular temple, observatory, or how you want to call it, it resembles a lot the sky disk itself, right?
It really does, yeah. It's actually the very oddly. Oh, wait a minute. So you're telling me, actually, this might. I hate the fact that people say, yeah, humans rationalize everything in 2 seconds, but like, I don't mind rationalizing this because this is a little bit too on the nose. Like, you look at that disc and you compare it to this temple complex, and now it makes sense. The circle might not be the sun, it might actually just be the complex's location.
It could
And
be.
it
Yes.
could be the complex's location and
Yes.
how, like, things would have looked at the time for whoever made it, from based off of that location, and it just happened to be left
It
on
could
that
be.
mountain, or something happened, that it ended up getting buried there. There is historical evidence that a lot of these very ancient temples would get raided, or crap would get stolen, and sometimes the person who stole it would die on the way, or something would happen, they would lose it. And
Exactly where in Germany is this?
This is Gozek. This is Eastern Germany. It's and Saxony. This is
Damn, I'm amazed the commies didn't just fucking flatten the place.
the
No,
fact that
actually-
predicted it is
actually-
crazy.
Actually, they organized tours already during when the wall was still there, when it was still a communist country, a socialist country. They were already kind of course, proud of it and spinning for their own narratives and kind of telling, this is the place, where our ancestors. But it's, again, this thing here is even older than the Bronze Age. They found 1,675 trunks of oak tree that were creating these two circular walls around it. It's perfectly predicting the equinox and the solstices. And of course, you can track pretty much every star in the northern area perfectly. It's somehow a even more primitive Stonehenge that is also related to the sky disk. And close to this place, they found fragments of older sky disks that were incomplete, which made researchers in Germany believe that the sky disk of Nibra that we found is just one of many, many GPS navigation tools that they used back then. But it's the only one that we found that is still complete in such good, in such good quality. And we found fragments all over Germany. So it is believed that there were many sky disks back then in the Bronze Age, and that people were traveling with them, sometimes even trading with them, or going to the position where the sky disk would actually make sense from the observational standpoint. So people would know not only what are the people I'm interacting with, what language they're speaking, but exactly the geographical position of the place I need to travel to in order to let this thing function.
We're gonna find more of these damn circles. Maybe this is one of three, and there's two others within the area, and they form a triangle. And then in the middle of that triangle is something profound.
I think it's the egg that gave birth to Dragon Slayer. I'm pretty sure of that.
What the fuck? Oh,
Yeah, there was the egg. There was later when everything was still confounded by darkness, right? The egg was laid there by the moon, And this is
Lord.
where when
We're
Dragon
already
Slayer
adding
was born.
mythology to this as well.
Of
Nice.
course, of course.
Hey, I'll
Um,
take it. I'll take it.
um, Probably it's the Dial of Destiny. I like that, Dungeon Master Bless. Let us know in the chat what we can find in the middle of this so-called triangle, right? Well, what are the artifacts that we can uncover there? Maybe we organize an open class doodles one and we go there and try to find what
It's
others
the
have.
key to make Germany great again.
Dun, 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 dun. He said it. Ah,
Yeah,
it's so good.
he said it. The
He
German
said it.
protects himself by having the Englishman say shit.
Mhm.
Oh,
You got
No,
one in Berlin, you got one in Munich, and you've got one somewhere in the fucking Rhineland.
again, in Germany and also France, we found in the Bronze Age, we found the so-called golden hats.
Are
Similar
you
to
sure
the
those are hats, Coach?
yes, I knew
they're
I knew this was coming. I was completely aware
Oh my
of the
God.
danger that I was, throwing myself in by showing
Oh,
these
God.
pictures.
You look at that map, though, folks. If Coach could go to that map, that technically forms a triangle.
That's Aventon, which is a very interesting place, also in French mythology. Schifferstadt, another. This is one of the oldest trading and commerce places. It was, the ferry city, and Elzersdorf, which has also a very interesting meaning. Etzelsdorf. We're not going to go into that, but again, also the places where they found these are very interesting. And the one was found in Berlin as well. And now I want to, just if you think about astronomers, right? Astronomers that were like, rightfully so, Dungeon Master Blaster is kind of pointing out, astronomers were the first, let's call them like the first elite caste of the society, right? Astronomers were the first decoders of the sky. They were highly seen and venerated, privileged people, right? They were kind of mapping the stars. They were telling the farmers when to kind of, plow
They
the
had
fields.
sky privilege. It wasn't white privilege. It was sky
It was
privilege.
sky privilege, senator,
Yeah.
sky lounge. And so the first
Sky lounge.
astronomers turned also into kings later on. They they gave this privilege, this elite status, similar to what presidents are doing, right? Where presidents are born in families where already presidents existed or famous,
Yeah, they're
famous
part of
peop-
established bloodlines. Yeah,
right.
They're part of bloodlines that, ironically speaking, I think only one or two presidents are not connected to it. All the rest are. It's
Yes, and
crazy.
we know who those people are, right? And
Oh yes.
no, it's very interesting. I just, this is me going in different places, but when I see those golden hats, and I think of this.
Okay.
Oh.
I think of magic hats.
Mickey Mouse hat. No, don't
No,
ruin
I mean-
Fantasia for me.
I mean, think about it.
Wait a minute.
The
Hold
three
on, that wizard hat.
magicians, the three
No, that
magicians
was-
that attended Jesus Christ and his birth, the
Yeah.
three Persians, right? We know it from the Mithras story, from the Mithras show we covered. They were considered magicians. They were astronomers, but they were considered magicians, and there were all these strange hat people, hats
yeah.
and hat people, right?
You know, when I think of strange people wearing silly hats and they're made of gold, that makes me very suspicious.
Yeah, yes. But
Hey,
there,
by the way, I know this is completely off topic, but like, who the hell buys a fucking wizard hat for $3,098? Can I? That came
Harry
out of
Potter
nowhere.
fans like Hypnotic.
Sure, but like,
Oh.
oh no, sorry, 309. My bad. Okay. I
no,
thought
but there
it was
are
3,000.
truly expensive ones.
Do they
right?
have any white pointy hats?
So if you think of Gandalf,
They
or
don't
if
have
you think
plans
of
for them
Harry
hats.
Potter, you think always of the wizard wearing a pointy hat, right, with this disc down here. And I think this is exactly the same thing that we get presented here, guys. I think if you think of gold and the relation of gold and neural energy, electrical conducted energy that gets created in your brain, maybe also through a state of euphoria or some stasis or some others, you know, and combine that with water and energy. You know, we know that there is a property of gold, of bronze, these materials. They're also, they are, you know, they're functioning in many ways, and so maybe there is something about seeing, connecting, telling, deciphering stories, and wearing those hats, wearing those gold antennas, and receiving instructions, receiving messages, receiving all sorts of information. Because the magician, what does he do? He, like, you know, he pulls off his, you know, pulls down his hat, and he pulls something out of that hat, out of that wormhole, out of that other universe, right? He is the conduit. He's the living barrier to another realm that is invisible to the audience, right? Is left speechless, like all of a sudden I performed this trick. But there is this combination that in the Bronze Age, all of a sudden, you know, people were creating these golden hats everywhere in Northern Europe. And as you can see, again, very, very detailed work.
Yeah,
right?
the first one is probably the most practical to wear, but I think I
Yes.
know now where the term dickhead came from.
It is literally a dickhead.
That's actually yeah. I'm sorry to say this, but like Ryan's got a point. That's quite a valid point right there. Yeah,
That
you know-
truly is a bell end.
it really is.
Yes.
And you know what's crazy? You know, people forget like gold does have very highly conductive like energy ratios,
And it
but
doesn't
also
wear out either.
it doesn't wear out. Yeah,
Mm.
and the best part, Ryan, as well, is that it has been used for, I guess you could call it. It has very positive energetical healing properties, as has been
Yes.
explained in science. And so, the way, of course, we have no way of harnessing that yet, but supposedly a lot of these people, when you see them wear gold, you know, in later years, sure, it may have been used to just portray clout, but there is this idea that, you know, gold is like purest expression of, like, you know, positive energy of like the universe or whatever. And
If
so
the first magicians truly wore that kind of hat, they must have looked like right twats.
Yeah.
sure,
yeah.
but they were wealthy. What did
Yeah.
that?
My
As long as it
goodness.
didn't matter. No, they were. It was crazy, but like I always think it's yes. There's a reason why they're so highly valued. They're very rare, but also they're very highly.
Yeah, me too.
I need a
30
dickhead hat.
centimeter of pure gold is it's not bad. Let us yes know.
Pause. Pause. A man wanting 30 centimeters of anything is grounds for a red flag, coach.
Oh,
To quote
Dun,
a
dun,
phrase,
dun.
pause.
Why you put the like and subscribe right next to him?
And folks, Coach is a professional actor. You really should check out his masterclass things. He was also on many quiz shows, but since they were in German or other languages, I can't really watch them without cringing because I don't know what anyone's saying.
We need a
even won,
subtitle
think-
version, Coach.
I mean, in
I
all
think-
seriousness, though, Coach, if
Right.
you can be on a game show, so can I.
Yes, for sure. Because you are a gambler. You're playing.
Oh.
Name something you find terrifying. Black men. Our survey says. If it was the American version, if it was the British version, it would be you're going to a jail cell.
Dun, 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 dun. Now,
Oh,
in
man.
Germany, we have the 4 cardinal days. And so these days would indicate, you know, equinoxes and solstices. And we still have them in German language. And so a day that was nominated as some sort of a hallmark to represent a point in the calendar, of course, to us, it's important to kind of, you know, make the day count, the calendar count, but it's also a form of authority. So the idea that you were wearing a hat and representing authority is something very ancient that didn't necessarily come from just the Asian basin or just the Middle East. It was kind of distributed all. If you think about the Druids, magicians, right? All sorts of people wore these important hats to kind of represent authority. And let's imagine these people back then having venerated the stars and used gold to trade and kind of create these incredible artifacts, that they were highly sophisticated in their means of exchange, of trade, of religion, of belief systems, and also of language. We're not talking about brutes and barbarians. These are truly sophisticated, very advanced people that were thinking about connections, commerce, religion, spirituality in a very thoughtful, deep way. And all these people back then were somehow kind of, concording onto the fact that some, celestial events, some star constellations, some, certain positions and alignments of planets were more important than others. And they were recognized all over the globe for being so. And the thing that we find these in the Bronze Age, where allegedly there was this collapse of this culture, and we don't know where this culture went, and now they're depicting them as brutes and barbarians who had no connection with the real, with the real civilization, is somehow to me an indication that we should look even more into that part of history, because that is, to me, it sounds like a cover up. It sounds like there was a high civilization that was spreading into the west of Europe and encountered all these very advanced cultures, not civilizations, cultures that had an incredible knowledge of the stars, an incredible connection to their environment that was surrounding them, and had a very peaceful, very equilibrated way of organizing their societies. And somehow they were refusing these new theories of civilization. They didn't want to mingle too much maybe with these upcoming empires. And that's why these upcoming empires just annihilated them, changed the narrative, confiscated their artifacts, locked them away, and pictured these people in the future as being vandals, as being barbarians, as being people with no culture, no tradition whatsoever, strange, infested beliefs. And so we had the mission to cleanse this territory and to bring like real life to it and kind of civilize it. But it seemed to me it was the other way around. It seemed that there was, like what we are always discussing, that there was some reminiscence, some rest of a way more ancient, way more profound culture that somehow survived till the advent of the Bronze Age. And then all of a sudden these huge dark empires have risen and eliminated all sorts of proof and connection from what we have from our very ancient past, these middle cultures that we have encountered. And now we kind of cleaned the world map of history, and we're telling, yeah, sure, Romans, before that Greeks, before that Minoans, before that yada yada Phoenicians. So it's all nice and all clean and all tidy. And there was nothing in between, nothing worth mentioning, where we more and more discover that actually the opposite nature of this metal is true. That there was a deep and ancient connection, a civilization, a culture that didn't need maybe big cities or a one unified flag or one great empire or emperor representing them, but somehow they all communicated and lived peacefully together.
I blame immigration, because that's usually how empires.
Thank you so much. After this little introspection of history, we needed that.
In all seriousness, though, usually areas of the world collapse because they bring in people who aren't like them, who end up destroying it. Rome is a great example. From the Republic, it then changed to the Empire, and it fell to bits, largely because it welcomed barbarian hordes from the north into their society, especially into their military, caused the split when Roman loyalists basically abandoned the capital and set up in the east, and then tried to make a comeback and inevitably failed when they got wiped out by other barbarians.
I do want to make a point though. Like, yeah, you're right. That did eventually happen, but Ancient Rome did have a history as well as these other civilizations that we're talking about. They did have the advantage that they actually welcomed in a lot of migrants and refugees from other areas. But the difference between those states and, say, for example, the Western Roman Empire near its fall is that the government or the management system had fallen down into such a sorry state, I'll say, due
Yes.
to a lot of social decadence, as in like people at the time had no idea what the hell they were fighting for. They were more focused on basically just excess, just getting that high or that they were looking for emotionally, and then just moving the fuck on, not caring who they hurt. And of course, it led to an era full of narcissistic psychopaths that eventually infiltrated their government. And of course,
Wow, that sounds like 2024.
that sounds like human history, like every like 5 centuries.
But
It
still, I'm
actually
going
happens
to
quite a bit.
blame outsiders and immigrants for all of our problems.
just to put a band-aid.
Yeah.
No, not look at the real problem. No,
Well,
but
it's less of a
it does contribute.
band-aid and more of taking a very hot poker into a wound.
Yeah, and that is true. Yeah, the Byzantine Empire lasted for a very long time. People don't understand, like, it's a miracle it survived
Yeah,
for that long, because this thing
yeah.
was the only
And it was a label. The
yeah.
term Byzantine Empire was a label. That's like
Yeah.
me labeling an Islamic caliphate the cocksucking kingdom. It's a label.
Right. It would be the same. Yeah.
It's true.
The term
Exactly. It's
Byzantine
exactly
was
the
negative. Yeah.
It is true. It's true, but I wasn't expecting that. No,
Why
but
not?
Of
yeah.
course, but you always
But-
have to expect the unexpected with the good syrup
Yes.
from Wales.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. I gotta
Um,
expect some weird crap from the Welshman. But I will say, yeah, I am quite
Oh, look, my
yes,
people.
the yellow.
Na, na, na,
Again,
na, na,
no,
na,
Oh, no,
I'm just
no. Family
making
friendly
a
here.
point
We are
here
family friendly.
that there was, in ancient time, we know that these hats, the rectangle hats from the Chinese sages, were used for astronomical observations as well. These are actually moon knots, and this is exactly where the equinox happens. Here again, the three sages wearing the astronomical hats, right? The golden hats. So there was always this connection of a certain hat piece of
anime.
a certain hat.
Literally, you search about
and-
history,
and-
like 3
and-
tabs down, anime. Jesus.
Anime, of
Look up.
course, when we have three sages. No, but this is just, and again here, like the three sages, I know this is just, but again, the combination of
These
the
aren't all the-
sages
you're not-
and
You're not showing us just the same person all the time, Coach. These are different historical figures, right?
yes, yeah, no, absolutely.
I just
Okay,
can't
that's just
tell them apart.
anime. Man, what's wrong, Google, man? Like, try typing 3
What's wrong
Chinese
with-
stages.
But
Because like Google is showing
but it's
anime.
it's interesting that you did look. You're 3 Chinese sages. This is what you get. But what's interesting, we have the magician hat combined again.
It's Google trying to
The
bodge the
3
screen.
sages of China, Ching, Chang, and Chong.
Oh God!
It's always it's training.
Demonetized.
Thank you for your invaluable cultural
Ching, Chang,
addition
Chong.
that
It's
you're making
ding,
to
dang, dong.
Oh my God! No, but I get where you. I get where you were
It's
getting. at
family
this.
friendly to insult 12.5% of the world's population.
Of course it is. It's comedy, everyone.
Hey, just have them
Yeah.
wear the German
God.
golden dickheads and just call them Sino-German.
God Lord, what is up with this
Um,
man? He's on edge
e-
today.
even-
What's up?
Yeah, I love it. No, even the weapons of the Chinese represented also, astronomical observation instruments. So with the halberd, you could, again, you had the full moons and you had the equinoxes here. Again, this is proven. It's not some. There are some poles with halberd reminiscence, and also some holes that were found in China where they knew exactly they would place the weapons in, and by placing these halberds in there, you could exactly tell when there was the next full moon, when equinoxes would occur. So these were not just weapons, but also they were used for needs for astronomical observations.
Yeah, the Chinese had the halberd way before the Europeans. I mean, even
Yes.
less than 2 centuries after the death of Christ, you had Chinese warriors using the halberd about 1,000 years before the Europeans had ever created it, and that's one hell of an advancement. The problem China has it still has to a lesser extent, is that it's so massive. It's literally a world unto itself, and you don't need to go outside of it to connect with others.
Yes, that's why it's called the center, right? The center country, or the Shang it means in the center of the world. China means center country, right? It's very interesting that they believe that they were the nucleus, the focal point of everything else that was going on.
The heart.
Also,
I
the
believe, or
idea that,
something.
yes, the heart, the center, absolutely. The idea that also on the sky disk of Nibra, we have where we believe, well, maybe that's the full moon, maybe that's the sun, but maybe that sphere was indicating also something holy. Again, that's not something new, that the circle behind the head, the full circle behind the head, actually means holiness. That has to do with something with the sages, with someone who's wise, someone who you would consult for advice and for guidance. And also the 3 Magoi that attended Christ's birth were sometimes also called the 3 sages, right, wearing these strange hats. So this idea that some people were seeing stuff, and so therefore they were venerated way before we established civilization, is very, very ancient.
I mean, it's very interesting you brought up the 3 sons of China. I mean, Sun Jian, Sun Ce, and Sun Xuan of the 3 kingdoms. There's father, son, and then brother.
Yes.
3 generations that led a portion of China during the fall of the Han and the 3 kingdoms period. So I found that very interesting. And folks, that's why China as a civilization goes back thousands of years, and they look upon recent history with utter disdain, because for the past 200-300 years they've been on their asses. The peak of their civilization was anywhere between 500 to 2,500 years ago, maybe a bit further back.
So
No,
this
you're right.
idea, this idea that we get our light because in the Roman Catholic Church, kind of, they declared once lux ordem ab orient. That means that the light, the civilization was brought to us from the east, right? The sun rises in the east, but they meant by this, and this is still how mainstream universities, this is how legacy archaeology kind of still operates today. If it contradicts the fundamental idea that we're all coming from the east, or even better from Africa, if the timelines are not matching, they're just disregarding the evidence. They're not looking at it exactly like the sky disk from Nibra. For them, in their chronology, it's not even mentioned. It's incredible. They don't even, or the circular temple array that was discovered in Gozek, right, which is even older than this one, where they found reminiscences and rests from an older sky disk, right? They don't even mention them because they contradict the idea that everything was brought in terms of civilization and advancement and great new culture was brought to us from the east, where we find more and more evidence that actually in Northern Europe, in Western Europe, in Ireland, in Spain, and even in the Atlantic Ocean, we find more and more stuff that is even more ancient than what we had from the East. And so therefore the epochs of, I think cultural development, the waves of cultural development must be newly dated or updated, let's say, and taking way more the Western development into account and not only focus on the East.
Well,
Yeah,
I will
and-
say personally, Coach, I'm much more inclined to believe the Eastern theory than the dominant theory that we all come from Africa, which is the most laughable fucking theory
true.
you could ever
It is.
come up with. The land without
No, it's-
civilization gave birth to civilization.
Yes.
Especially if the
It's
Sahara
absolutely,
Desert
unfortunately, true.
especially if the
Yes.
Sahara Desert has been a long-term thing, because crossing that
Ooh,
vast
we have the
desert.
gooch in the house.
Hey, Gooch. Let's
And it's
go,
great
man.
to see,
Yes.
great to see Persian, man.
No.
But that vast desert that separates sub-Saharan Africa with the Mediterranean. I can't say it. Mediterranean.
We have blooper number one.
Mediterranean. No,
I
I'm
mean,
just kidding.
getting
Fuck.
past that
Mediterranean.
is insane. So the idea that we, as humans, originated in Africa is like saying the invention of the car came from a land that has no fucking cars. It sounds
Yeah,
ridiculous.
Jesus.
Yes.
Welcome, Gooch,
One
to
of the
the-
stories
to
we're
the-
gonna.
the Ryan
Thank you,
sessions.
Gooch, for. Yeah, the more academia pushes certain theories, the more I doubt them. AKA evolution and out of Africa, two most falsified theories. They still get angry if we doubt them. Oh, yes, absolutely. And
I got one
and
for you.
this is-
okay. Oh,
Sure,
I just
sure,
want to
sure,
say this
sure.
real quick. Okay, super quick. So,
Mm.
Okay.
one theory number one. Okay,
Mm.
maybe academia, maybe civilization didn't sprout from a single location. Maybe it was in multiple
No.
locations throughout the world,
What?
including Africa.
Come
It's just that
on.
some developed faster than others because they had
No.
less
Haven't
conflict
developed
to deal with.
full.
Stop! You're
Damn it,
teasing me.
Ryan.
Stop! You're teasing
make a
me.
point
Stop!
here.
Stop! No, the
Hey,
thing
folks,
is, they
what do you
always.
call
Hmm.
folks? What do you call an African?
Oh God!
Homo erectus.
Come
And
on!
we're demonetized. We weren't
I'm
in the
sorry,
first place
Gooch.
anyway, so that's
No,
funny.
Type
Thank
in
you.
Homo
Uh,
erectus. It's a real
Homo
subset
sapien.
of humans.
It's called
was
Homo
making-
sapiens erectus. First of all, technically correct.
You have,
It's
you
not
have
just
Homo
erectus.
sapiens, which is what we are. We have the Neanderthal,
Damn it.
which we wiped
Right.
out, and you have Homo erectus, which is the African.
Thank you
I
for
have
all our
proved it.
loyal viewers. You guys are awesome.
Thank you.
Ryan
You've been so
throws these out of
great. We
nowhere.
enjoyed our YouTube program, and damn you, Dragon Slayer, for bringing Ryan up as in addition to our program. We could have stayed in our comfortable duet type of. No, you said, come on, Ryan is alone. He has no friends.
We
He
have
has a
to- we have to-
retracting hairline. We have to help him out.
Oh,
This is
no.
the gratitude.
The
No,
gratitude.
thank you.
Nah, bro.
This is what
Hey,
you
bro.
get for trying to call yourselves, you Spaniards, you Itais, you try to call yourselves minorities in America
No,
when you
we-
are
we
actually
have-
white Europeans.
Well, I mean, we are, but like we can't do much about it. That's kind of what just gets thrown. I mean,
Maybe we should call you two Homo erectus.
oh,
Oh well,
Hey,
okay. Let's
I know.
let's get back to the subject. The thing is that, of course, out of Africa doesn't make any sense. Everybody knows that Darwin doesn't make any sense. Big Bang doesn't make any sense. And funny enough, all these theories were created in the 19th century by the same group of people, and they always want to trace us to one single unit that seems to be the denominator of all units. And we know that that isn't possible, right? Gautier, the Jesuit who invented the Big Bang theory, the cosmology of the God particle, and we are again searching for the God particle. We just created the biggest monstrosity humanity has ever seen. It's called CERN. It's the most expensive science project on this planet ever. What are they doing? They're searching for the God particle. They're always searching for the one, common denominator where we know that cultures, races, civilization, they are diversified in the way they were brought up. There is not one common denominator for cosmos, for human society, for the evolution of the species. There are always multiple factors coming in, but this is just the way we get taught, and still till this day, yes, astrophysics, when you go to astrophysics and study, bada boom, they will, of course, tell you in the courses, I mean, Big Bang, bada boom, but still, you can't really contradict that model. You can adjust it, try to normalize it, add some of your theories, but still it has to be reconducted to Gautier or Einstein. Otherwise, you're out of your science grant. Otherwise, you're not getting funded. Otherwise, you don't get any money for your research paper. So you have to stick, even with archaeology. I have a friend of mine who's studying archaeology. He says the Egyptology course that he has to take, he still needs to repeat that, yes, with wine threads, they built the pyramids with those wood sleds, and they just kind of pulled 70-ton blocks on sand up to 100 meters of altitude. Of course, that's how you still have to repeat all those, like they always have to find that one common, otherwise they can't explain. All of their theories are just, they're crumbling and imploding right now. And the sky disk of Nebra and what we're covering today, right? Why I'm saying Bronze Age is, the elephant in the room for history, is because obviously, if you know about astrology, if you know about theology, if you know about the courses of the planets, if you know about metallurgy, if you know about trade, then you are not a barbarian anymore. You're not a less civilized, some sort of niche cultural, freak development. And no. This is trade routes we're speaking, exchange, languages, research, observation. You need tons of people in order to fabricate something like that. And we see it through history with the bronze heads, with all these other circular temple complexes, with the sky disk of Nebra, with the golden heads, that there was a reoccurring theme back then in the Bronze Age, northern of the Alps and western of all the countries that we know that were flourishing back in the day, where people were communicating and believing in these type of movements. And so we can say that maybe Bronze Age was the last shimmering, right? The last fire bundle eruption of the true civilization that we had from our ancestors, and then that the new paradigm was rolling in that ultimately brought us this 19th century type of mindset, of mechanical mindset we're still in today.
Well said, Coach. It'd be great to
Yes.
get Dragon Slayer's perspective. Although I will
Yes.
say, ladies and gentlemen, how come we don't find most of these great discoveries in Africa? We find some of them in Africa, especially in Ethiopia,
Yes.
and if you can dodge mines, Somalia. But for the most part, you don't see these kinds of discoveries in the African continent compared to, say, Europe or in Asia.
There are some. Before we go there, just really quick to kind of elaborate what Audacity Game is asking us here. CERN, the particle explorer that kind of is beneath 5 countries, Switzerland, Austria, the particle that is looking for the God particle, right? And they can look forever because they will always find smaller particles, of course, because the vacuum is filled with particles. So that's a beautiful game that you set up for yourself, CERN. Great job. Yeah, always look for the smaller particle. And what is the implication of that? Nothing, because you have always smaller fields of energy, of density. But that's another thing. Maybe we'll discuss it in another open class doodles. But he's asking a question here. So Shiva is an Indian god, meaning nothing or nullity. Please explore this. So this goes in two ways. Shiva is always depicted with a circle. Again, we have the disc, right? That we also found with the three sages, that we found in the celestial disc of Nebra. And we find also, of course, in paintings, iconic paintings from the Eastern tradition of Christianity. The Orthodox Church depicts the icons with, of course, the golden disc. So why? Because the disc, or the zero, right, the nullity, is of course the womb, right? That's the creation, that's zero, that's the wormhole, that's the head of the magician. This is where we extract life. Now there is a thing about Shiva, is because she's the life giver and also the life taker, right? She's the goddess of love, but also the goddess of war and destruction. Now, why is that? Because, you know, the zero is, first of all, Shiva or Sheva comes from Theo or Theva, which means zero, which means God, right? Theos or Theva or Hesta or Vesta. All these words are all mean the same thing. It means womb. It means zero. That's why you have, of course, close to an obelisk, always a fountain or like a circular shaped basin or a pool of water, because the obelisk represents the male preposition and the circle represents the female preposition. And the magician's hat is the combination of that. You have the disc of the female, right, that you have around your forehead, and then you have, of course, the male preposition, which is the pointy end. And why is that important for Shiva? Because the circle is made out of 360 degrees. Now, if you count 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5, and you go on until you reach 36, and then just make it right now, just make that calculation right now on your calculator, and you will find a very, very telling number being the result of 1 plus all the numbers till 36. And this is what Shiva stands for. 36 in the end added up is 666. And so Shiva is the Lord of Destruction and, of course, the Lord of War, and also the love giver and the life giver, right? And CERN being 666. Look at the logo of CERN, by the way, right? So it makes perfectly sense that they have Shiva, and the nullity represents God and also the antithesis of God.
You know, when they started smashing particles together, the world started acting fucking crazy over the past decade or two. That's why people believe in an alternate reality. We are in a situation where conventions are gone, and it all ties back into CERN smashing super tiny particles together at ridiculous speeds, causing reactions. These fuckers want to create an artificial black hole. That's how insane they are. In terms of mad science delusion. They want to mess with things that alter the fabric of our reality, and that is far from reality-based. Let me tell you that.
Oh, I mean, there's an explanation behind the statue, at least. Like, the reason why it's there, basically, it was a gift from India to CERN, number one. But there is definitely a significance to it that's to why they would gracefully accept it.
But better than other gifts you can get from India, like diarrhea.
Oh, god damn it. Hold on. Let me cook for a moment. Let me cook for a moment. Okay.
It's not a lie. The truth is reality-based. They live in shit.
Oh, Jesus. God damn it. Well, the interesting thing about the statue of Shiva that they have at CERN is actually one of the goddess, because I think Shiva was always portrayed in an androgynous manner, sort of like to show its supreme self, but most people portray it as female. So we'll just go with that.
Wait, so a tranny god?
No, androgynous. So basically, it was
same thing.
Like Mithra.
Yeah, it's like Mithra, yeah. So sort of like, I think the gender was defined, but like by the face and the body, people confused them. But they were definitely one gender one gender specifically. But
similar
to
the Baphomet, right? The 666 Baphomet, right?
But the crazy thing is that in the statue of CERN, she is actually in the statue. I mean,
fair enough.
Satanism.
That we call Jim Shoe Bomb. That's my name for him.
Oh my god.
Well, I mean, there is definitely.
It's easier to pronounce than his last name, which is very confusing. But please, Dragon, continue.
No, sure. Basically, she. Oh, it's a he. Thank you. I knew it was fucking right. Thank you.
Tranny.
It's the he.
Plus what Jim said. Demon.
Yeah, no. So Shiva is actually Shiva, because he's known as the supreme god of Hindu mythology. In the statue that CERN has, Shiva is actually stomping on the demon of ignorance. So the idea behind it is that if you go back, they may not even be aware of it. Most of these CERN scientists of like the symbology behind it, but basically, the whole idea with Shiva is that Shiva is the supreme ruler, deity, god, whatever you want to call it. So everything begins with Shiva, everything ends with Shiva, meaning everything that came after Shiva is one with Shiva and will eventually return to it. And so, by Shiva stomping on the demon of ignorance, it's a way of saying the only way to destroy ignorance is to go back to the beginning, but beware, it could lead you to destruction
But it's
because
of
if you're
course
not careful,
right. It's of course
yeah,
very intriguing and interesting that you have a pagan goddess, which in its avatar semblance, which is Kali, is also the goddess for the thugs who are a cannibal tribe in India. So and we know Shiva has a very dark aspect to him. So it's very interesting that we have this bloodthirsty god, right, that is predicating in some way also the destruction of things in order, of course, to let life blossom up again in front of such a high scientific research institute. So it goes for saying, like, it's interesting how the occult universe, the esoteric universe, is always connected and to also the scientific universe, even though they don't want to admit it. Here we have the logo, which is clearly a 666. Just to
I will not bow to the gods of India because they clearly weren't enlightened enough to come up with the concept of sanitation.
Oh, they did, but doesn't mean people follow
By
the rules.
shitting in a river, Dragon?
I don't think they came up with that. I'm quite sure that was just somebody
That is
took a shit on the
literally
river and then
legacy of
somebody's.
India under the Vedic system
call-
and under Hinduism. Shitting in a river is their rite of passage as a people.
I don't even like think they're.
No wonder China doesn't like them.
I don't
Imagine
even
having
think,
that
like, their
kind of
gods would allow
neighbor on
that
your
shit.
doorstep. My goodness. Ugh.
Yes, here we have the particle accelerator from the inside. Again, we have the circular shape, very interesting, and inside the hexagonal shape, which is of course an indication of the planet Saturn. But I just want to give you here this very interesting kind of comparison. Now that was CERN, and this is the Iron Man, right? That's the arc reactor, right? They resemble, they are very similar in the way they're built, right? It's very interesting that there is this arc energy, arc meaning the arc of the covenant energy, this endless energy source, free energy source that operates inside of the Iron Man, of course, right? The Iron Age man. And the CERN particle accelerator kind of has that same design, kind of tries to convey that infinite resource of energy type of message as well.
Hey, Dragon, how do you say Iron Man?
Iron Man.
Doodles for adoption. Doodles
Oh
for
my.
adoption?
What?
Doggies.
See,
All right,
the
well,
English spelling. Okay.
It's because Coach said I run for some reason.
Dun, 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 dun.
It's pronounced Iron Man. It's also not called fall because nothing's fucking falling. It's called autumn. I know you
Autumn.
Americans can't spell it. It's called autumn.
Autumn.
That's
Yeah.
true.
Oh, sorry.
Autumn.
Autumn. Oh my
Why
god.
don't you-
Buddy. I'm
Autumn.
sorry. Autumn.
Why
Autumn,
don't you
autumn.
just fall on your fat asses, Americans? It's autumn.
I just thought I'd bring someone along that offends you the whole time. I think that's way more fun than
FYI,
having
he's a Welshman making fun of immigrants who are now U.S. who live in the U.S.
And by the way, the Welsh, right? Wales is
Ooh,
like a highly mystical, super
Yeah.
like we need to talk about it in one of our episodes as well. There is so much going on. Even if just by analyzing the flag of Wales, we could talk for hours. So definitely that's an open classroom. for the
Absolutely.
future.
And folks, if you don't believe in population replacement, Wales is a great case study because 2/3 of the population are English.
Dun, 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 dun.
If it can
Yeah,
happen to
yeah.
Wales, it can happen to you.
The autumnal equinox. Yes.
Oh yeah, the autumnal equinox.
Autumnal. Beautiful. So again, coming back to our celestial disk, the proof that this for centuries has been a guideline for people, for observations, for religion, for culture, for trade, for even commerce, and I believe also communication. It's very telling about what really went on. And this is just one artifact of thousands of artifacts that we won't ever see, or that are impossible to retrieve, or that have been destroyed by the Jesuits, or of course by the 30-year raging war in the, in the central of Europe. So if you think also of the sun displayed here, right? The sage, the sun being the sage, of course, because the sun brings us life, right? The sun brings us growth. The sun brings us information. That's exactly what the sage does. So all these pictures of the sages wearing these hats were representatives of a sun cult. And this is what the Son of God actually means. It's the cult of the sun, of Aton, right? That's what the Egyptians, funny enough, exactly in that time period, by kind of bringing everything to monotheism, right? And kind of Akhenaten, kind of connecting all the dots and accumulating all the pantheon in just one god, and showing the people. And if you read the hymn to the son of Akhenaten, that's basically that's the, there are parts of the Bible that are completely just copied out of the hymn to the sun, written by Akhenaten. And what he tried to introduce back then in Egypt, the sun cult, right? Because he was knowing about a civilization north of his empire that was already worshiping the sun, that was already coming together for these festivities. Because the thing about the theory that all these sun cults were coming from the east is actually is a bit, it's leading into, I think, a wrong direction. For people of the south, the sun was always there. There was no big need to track the sun in Egypt or in Palestine or in Phoenicia, because it was always warm. The sun was always there. The land was always flooded with sunlight. It was way more important to track the moon, and therefore we have a lot of moon religions in the East and not sun religions, right? Because the moon would tell us about rain. The moon would tell us about when actually the flood would come back. The moon would tell us about when it was time to shift into the autumn time. Yes, the sun technically had that mission too, but it was way clearer to observe north of the Alps than south of the Alps. So the sun cult being a cult more of a Western European civilization culture, more of a Northern European culture, because to them it was fundamental to know exactly when the sun would come back with full heat to give, of course, warm shelter and sunlight to the fields in the north of Europe, where sunlight is very scarce, rather than to the south of Europe, or even the minor Asia territory, where sun was, there in abundance. And as a matter of fact, we see those cults more worshiping the night and the moon and everything that was associated to that aspect, because the sun wasn't playing that much of a major factor. These are all moon religions in the East. They're not sun religions, as well as in Africa. We have dozens and dozens of moon cults, sects, and religions. And in the northern parts, we have the sun cults.
Well, I'd just like to say that this artifact, this sky disk artifact that is the size of a pallet, as Coach Show had shown earlier, this is the legacy of pre-Abrahamic Europe, before the Christian invasion, when they were running away from the Islamic world for obvious reasons. So this is a relic of a bygone era, even a relic before the Roman Republic, even in a territory that was not considered civilized in any way, shape, or form. So the Romans had an incentive to get rid of things like the sky disk. Afterwards, the Christians had an incentive to get rid of the sky disk, because it was pre-Christian, pre-Abrahamic in that respect. And from that, we can analyze that there was something there before them. After the Roman world tried to civilize the whole Mediterranean area and succeeded for a time, but ultimately failed. And then Christianity filled the void, largely by killing or converting anything that stood in their way. And most people don't really understand. During that period, before Islam came along, Christianity was a brutal fucking religion. And it was mostly unified.
Oh,
This was before the Orthodox
yeah,
split.
yeah.
And
yeah.
Let's not
so
let.
anything that was anti-Roman when the Romans were in power was a threat to their system. So they destroyed it. Afterwards, anything that was anti-Christian, usually pagan, was either converted or wiped out. And for the most part, it was wiped out. We don't really talk about it because Christianity is
Yes,
a
they
peaceful,
changed.
slightly weak-willed
the-
religion now.
Right.
But the point is, this artifact is a precious artifact that shows us a glimpse into a past that very few people understand. No wonder the communists actually treated the sites well, because it was
Mhm.
an artifact of pre-Roman, pre-Christian existence, and communists don't like Christians. And I don't know
No,
what
they
they think
are
about the Romans,
atheists.
but they probably didn't like them either. But yeah.
Well, there is of course a connection with the Romanovs and Roma, right? There's a connection between the families that we can in one other episode we will definitely explore. The Romans are not so Southern European as some people tend to believe. There are a lot of links. If you look at the Etruscans, right? Etruscans were the 7 first emperors of Rome. That is absolutely fact and evidence. And if you look into who were the Etruscans, another civilization that population and culture that we love to ignore, they were everywhere in the southern part of the Italian peninsula, and they used Cyrillic writing. And they used very strange, forms of describing and rituals that they had that were later on included also into Roman society. So it's fair to assume that parts of the so-called Roman Empire, again, this is more like of a plastic, that we create nowadays, that wasn't so consistent as we think it is today as it was back then. But parts of that narrative of that Roman society and microcosmos actually came from the East.
Which lends credence to, the successor state of the Byzantians, which was Russia, Imperial Russia, from Rome to Constantinople, and then the remnants of the Eastern Roman Empire went to conquer what became the Duchy of Moscow, which was a successor state of the Kievan Rus, which fell when the fucking Mongolians wiped them out, and then they came together to form the foundation state for what is now the Russian Federation. So that's why when you ask a Russian, their origins come from the Kievan Rus, which they now use to justify the fact that Ukraine is their territory.
But actually, if you look into it, we have the Khazarians that they kind of settled there in the 13th century, 14th century already, before there were any. And so again, if we look back and really try to analyze granularly what was going on, we see it's not as clear and sharp and black and white as today's politicians like to paint it. It was way more mixed, and also to Audacity game. Ryan Roger it didn't really wanted just he has a way of portraying things, especially when we're online and we are in show mode. And
I assume you understand English, my good man, so I'll say it in a very clear and concise term.
Lord. No.
Considering I am British, thin skin don't win. There you go.
It's beautiful. So no one is offending no one here. And he's making fun of my population as well as I'm making fun of his population as well. As Dragon Slayer can make fun of every population because it was born out of an egg. And so we love to take the liberty of interpreting history and looking at all these things, but we also take the liberty to be humorous and to be offending and to run over our thin skins, because we need to learn to live with that. And these stereotypes, these cliches.
Have elections over the next 6 weeks. It takes you 6 weeks to have elections. Those can't be corrupt in any way, shape, or form.
No. Never, ever, nowhere on this planet. But we don't.
Maybe you should learn from the Americans how to run a free and fair election. Theirs are as good as the Russians.
It's infotainment at its best. And
Meaning
Brian
less
Roger is British.
cutthroat, but still, cut out from the same fucking.
God damn it! I'm trying to excuse his unexcusable behavior, and you make it just worse. It's beautiful.
Bridges audacity game. I don't like Pakistan. See, are we friends now?
Kashmir.
I also don't like Bangladesh. That's basically the same country. But yeah, please go on, Coach.
Yeah.
No, I'm just saying that all of our cultures were super mixed, and there was no.
And they all had crappy
frontier.
stages. Let's be honest. All civilizations in
Yes.
all our histories had shitty situations. Unfortunately, to give you an example of the British, just to kind of fuck around a little bit. There was one point where their citizens had gotten so fat and lazy that they thought they had gone soft, and then in order to make them unsoft, they would throw them into war, just conscript them, and force their fat asses to go fight.
That's so bad. That's true.
Are you sure you're not confusing the UK for the USA, Dragon Slayer?
No. This was definitely UK.
Maybe that's why Dragon Slayer doesn't show himself. He's a brown pig in disguise.
No, I'm white. I'm quite white, actually. Yeah, believe it or not.
Oh, you need to come down to Florida, man, so we can fresh your tan up a little bit. Come on.
Oh yeah, no, I need the Miami tan. I know. I haven't gone Mediterranean brown in ages. So I'm sorry. I'm sorry, my people.
Good.
When do you come down and visit me? So we can do like a live stream here. You can bring like a dragon mask, or we could, hide you behind the glass door. We can have just your silhouette talking. That would be interesting.
The dragon gimp suit. Hypno has to wear his gimp suit, and Dragon has to wear his gimp suit, and it's the Florida heat.
I would love to invite you, Ryan Roger, but they won't let you in. I mean, that's the problem.
Of course they'll let me in. I don't have a criminal record, despite despite the fact that I have committed several thousand instances of hate speech in my country. So long as you don't threaten the establishment or any of their agents, nothing bad happens to you. It's like sharks. As soon as they smell blood in the water, they come for you. So don't bleed.
Oh, yes. I'm working on the shark monologue of Jaws right now, the USS Indianapolis incident. That's such a strong monologue, performed by a great British actor, Robert Shaw, in the movies Jaws, directed by Steven Spielberg with Richard Dreyfuss and Roy Scheider. I highly recommend you to watch just that monologue. We're going to talk about that in one of our open class doodle acting episodes, not the history episodes. And just to close this up with this audacity game, because it's not just, over here, guys, we are looking for enlightenment. We're looking for knowledge. We're looking to disclose the truth, right? We're taking a lot of our time, private time, to research this stuff, to talk about the topics, to come together. Ryan Roger Athay here is a good man. He's about to collapse because in the UK time, it's very, very late. And we all, we all take this time, precious time of our schedule to enlighten the community, really what we're doing, and to give you also some entertainment. But of course, everything should be taken with a pinch of salt. Nobody wants to offend. Nobody comes here to kind of denigrate any culture. I mean, look at Ryan Roger Athay. He has a retracting hairline. He looks like 60 even though he's 24. So he's making fun of himself like I'm making fun of myself, like Dragon Slayer is making. We're in all this. Please, let's not take everything so serious. Let's not be offended about everything, right? We're not meaning this to offend anyone. And quite the contrary, we're here to enlighten, to come together as a creative community. But therefore, I appreciate your comment, Odessa, but don't take it as this being really our 100% opinion. And you have to admit, some of what, there is some credence to what Ryan said. So definitely the golden truth is always in the middle, and stay with the program, because we just try to be a creative community here.
Indians have electricity? Is it the ones with the dots? Or the ones
come on!
No, really, thank you.
That's fucking Native Americans. How you confuse Native Americans from
Red Indians, brown Indians, yellow Indians? Why the fuck did my ancestors conquer India? They should have conquered a cold country like Norway. My goodness.
They tried, I'm sure.
so it's easier to
Oh,
keep.
for sure.
But no, in all seriousness, it has been a very good show, gentlemen. I usually leave at the 2-hour mark. Give these two gentlemen some time to wrap up. It is quite late in the United Kingdom, but at least my electricity doesn't get cut off like those in third world shitholes, like Pakistan and Bangladesh, not like the place in between.
Smart man with your words.
Kashmir is Indian. Now will you forgive me? There we go.
Probably, yeah. All
The
right.
Indus Valley civilization was the epitome of a lot of ancient civilizations. There.
A
Yes,
river of
for sure.
shit. Forget
No, God
river
damn
of
it.
blood. It's river of
And
shit.
you ruined it again.
We tried to.
In all
He's like,
seriousness,
"I wanna
folks,
be in the hole."
you know where to find me.
Lee.
Ryan Rogerath, host and founder of Reality Based. I have been accused of many things. A liar is not one of them. You know where to find me. Stay here, watch these two great guys, and until next time, bye for now. Bye.
Bye,
Have a
good
great
sir. Thank you for
time.
Later,
joining
man.
us.
Wakanda forever, under my rule.
God damn it. This crazy bastard.
What have we done wrong to deserve a friend like this? Can you answer this question?
I don't know. Like I feel like hey, look, we got exactly what we need. That's all it is. But I do have to mention something. Yes. Dungeon Master, yes. The Thracian Empire is actually probably should add that to the bucket list. Man, at this point, like we should
Yeah.
might as well make a bucket list, and just like
Yes.
because like it's
The
quite
Scythians,
yes.
we need to look into the Thracians, into the Scythians, Khazarians, also explaining why the Mongolian Empire never existed the way people are telling us, and what kind of evidence we can collect about that. Definitely, yeah. Let's collect a bucket list. You guys are more than happy to.
Oh yeah, what
to
happened to the
DM
sea
us
people?
on Twitter.
We forgot the fucking sea
Yes.
people. Shit.
Oh my God, the sea people. We need to cover the sea people as well before we move out of Europe for a while, because we covered a lot of European
Forgot about
topics. Now right now we wanna go also into different directions. Hugely important.
God
Yeah,
damn it.
Scythia is
Yes.
super important.
Yeah,
right?
Scythia, yeah.
And
Definitely.
yeah, and Polish noblemen still refer to themselves as being the Scythians being their ancestors. They see themselves in the descending line. Yes, as still as as in the greatest and the biggest, like number wise, aristocratic families. They're coming out of Poland. They're all claimed to be of Scythian descent. That's very interesting.
Okay. That's definitely gonna be quite a good one to jump into. But yeah, guys, we're kind of sorry, kind of went a little bit overboard with the whole astrological part of things, but I can't lie, like that that whole the whole explanation behind that the bronze and gold plate was way too fascinating to ignore. And just the fact that we can have so much fun just looking at how things work. You got to understand the whole purpose of these streams at the end of the day is we just want to show you shit. We're not trying to convince you to believe what we believe or even what we say. We just want you to see the other options and then make the decision yourself. If you still choose not to say I don't want to believe it, fine. That's fine. But at least now you know this thing exists. So whenever something happens in the future that causes you to either change your opinion, whether in a good or a negative way, now at least you have some idea of the context. Okay. And that's what we try to do all the time. Grant context. Yes, is Ryan like a very edgy fucking Loki? We can't help it. Okay, that's just that's just him. Okay, he's our edgy Welshman. All right, give him a break.
That's why we love him. There are so many political correct nonsense sayers that try to appease to the masses but don't say anything, and I think they are false and they're even deceivers. So I rather prefer 1,000 times a day a Ryan Roger essay that maybe is edgy, but he speaks his mind, he opens his heart, he's open for criticism. He deserves the punches, but he also distributes the punches, and I like this attitude about him. I think we need more people like him, true sayers that are not afraid of not fitting into a certain box.
And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we will call it a night for today because
Ding.
we realized that we could probably go on for 4 more hours without food,
Yes.
but then his wife but then he would have something thrown at him and he would end up
Yes.
unconscious on camera, and I don't want to
That's for
expose the
sure.
audience to violence due to frustration.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's bloody, it's messy, it's dirty. You know,
all
you
right,
don't want
so
to see this.
so we definitely are gonna call it a day for now. But hey, we talked a lot about about astrology. Surprisingly, I mean, it
Yeah,
was we
surprisingly, yeah.
every stream I say this, but man, I don't know how we kept on topic, but shit, we did. But it was
Yes,
fascinating
it's
looking at
fascinating.
about at everything really that was connected to a single bronze plate. Like we went from talking about the cultural significance of everything and letting people understand that these Bronze Age civilizations, they're not. It's not like a bunch of dumbasses who found something lying in the rocks and they're like, "Oh yeah, let's fucking build
Yeah,
shit."
let's
No,
try.
let's just
Right,
let's just
right.
build let's just build stuff, right? No, they knew something. They went to school. Okay, that they went to school. Somebody taught them something, and now they built a legacy. And then unfortunately, it kind of almost disappeared, but sort of preserved itself in a way.
Mm,
And but they created a legacy. Okay, that's how you
yes.
know a civilization had success at one point or the other when they were able to leave behind the legacy. Doesn't matter how big or small. Okay, they
Yes,
left
no,
something
absolutely.
behind, and that's
But
what we
did
want to point out,
yes.
that they were intelligent people, and we're trying to get people to understand that they are not mindless barbarians, and the fact that maybe our world was more connected than what we're
Hmm.
being told. That maybe
Yes.
human beings have this natural desire to
Inclination.
connect,
Yes.
yeah, or inclination.
Yes.
It's more like an instinct
Yes.
to just
Yes. I like
explore and
that.
connect with
I mean, look at
other
us.
fellow humans.
We know each other for almost 2 years. I've never saw you I mean, besides being you a dragon, I don't know how you look, but our connection is not of looks. It's not of superficiality. It's not about what other people think we should do. It's about what interests us, what we research, what connects us is our culture. And so this is a great and huge proof, I think, that this type of culture, this type of observation will never die, even though they try to paint it as a coincidence, as a collapse, as something that was just, just a child of it's not true. There is a narrative all inside of us, and we are hungering, we are thirsty, we want to know, we want to connect, and that gets us over our prejudices, our stereotypes, our check boxes, our cliches. That gets us over everything, because in the end, curiosity, like someone said also today in the chat, curiosity is the birth of everything. And so we are here for the exploration, we're here for the curiosity and connecting and researching together. And the more we are, the powerful we are, the more fun it is.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I got nothing more to say. I think that
No,
was a
are you
perfect.
sure? You didn't
Yeah.
even derail the stream today. You didn't even go on a tangent.
No,
Is everything okay? You want to tell me something? Something happened at
no,
work?
I'm good. I'm good. I just like these streams. I like to relax more and focus on the
Sure.
context, because on Saturday
Oh, yes.
we have to go fucking wild, and
Woohoo!
party mode, and I kind
Yes.
of like to be chill and calm and
Yeah.
collected, and show this other side to any of my viewers who may watch the stream now or later on. Have them understand, yes, I do say some wild crap, I get a point across, but yes, I am an educated person. Yes, I don't just fucking yell shit at
Yes.
the moon and
No,
hope
Dragon
that
Slayer is
yeah,
a very surprising fellow, and it's
yeah,
definitely also a reason why we enjoy Saturday Night Hypnosis so much, is because we're coming from all sorts of backgrounds. We're adding all our diverse flavors and nuances to the stream, and everybody has his package of knowledge that is quite specific and very, very very personal, very tailored, and I love all of our knowledge packages that we bring to the table and how we exchange. But with you, it was like love on first sight. We kind of exchanged and clicked immediately on these topics, and we knew this ultimately would lead
You sound like you're gay.
I
Just
am.
fucking with
When
you.
I'm talking about when I'm talking about the stuff that I love, I always sound gay.
Oh shit.
No, but I
I
really
like
love to
that.
connect with you, and you're smart, you're funny, you're very knowledgeable, and you're very patient at the same time. And so therefore, that's a great. You're someone who likes to teach. Like even I haven't met you in person, I can tell that you're a person that likes to give knowledge, that likes to help people, that likes to teach, and this is it's a very noble instinct, and I mean this like in the most positive way possible. And so therefore, I appreciate you being such a noble man and coming over to Open Class Doodles on Tuesday and creating this beautiful show with me. Please tell us where we can find you and what you're planning to do next.
Sure. If you guys want to find me, Dragon Slayer commentaries, then all you got to do is, well, I believe, well, all you got to do is look up Dragon Slayer commentaries on YouTube. Afterwards, it'll be the only profile that pops up. Just if you see a dragon with a hoodie and an orange
Mhm.
background, that's me. All right, the one and
Mhm.
only, because nobody else thought of doing that sort of thing until I did. And in terms of my socials, besides YouTube, if you go to the About section of my channel, you will be able to find my links to both my Rumble page and to my Twitter slash now called X profile, where you can follow me on both to sort of keep up with anything, any of the shenanigans that I interact with on a daily basis in X, or if you simply want to watch my videos away from the creepy eyes of YouTube, because maybe you just don't like YouTube, And again, again, remember, I upload everything I upload on YouTube. It gets uploaded on Rumble as well. Okay, it's meant
Oh.
there in case of anything crazy, but at the same time, it's also so that all you internet freedom fighters can watch my content. Okay, away from YouTube. But yeah, that's where you can find me. And as for future projects, I will be hopefully working on it, trying to release 2 videos. I'm gonna be want to be on the Civil War 2024 movie, the most boring piece of garbage fictional movie I've ever seen, and the other one will be the Rebel Moon Part 2. And then right afterward, we are going to complete this trinity of shit with Velma Season 2. That's still pending. The HBO went kind of nuts and released all the episodes in one
You are a
go.
brave dragon, a very brave dragon.
Yeah, I keep getting told this, like, oh god, you're walking into hell, but I guess I'm so used to it. I just come back out unscathed. Sort of, but it's fine, I accept it. But yeah,
Sure.
that's all I'm working on right now.
Beautiful, man. Thank you so much. Definitely, you can find us every Saturday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Hypnotic's channel when it's time for the Saturday Night Hypnosis, where we're going to go a bit crazy. This is definitely a nice change of pace for us as well. We're a bit more kind of, knowledgeable, where we go more into the research realm. But I feel like it's always entertaining. It's just a different form of entertainment, right? And I think everything kind of brings more value to the community. Everything that brings more value to the community is definitely a piece and definitely another mosaic stone in the grand scheme of our beautiful victory table that one day we're gonna show to our kids. This is how we defeated Babylon and Sauron and the big almighty eye, right? With YouTube videos like that, and we can be proud of these little legacy stones alongside our community that we're building. And we want to thank the chat so much for being out here, for leaving likes, for commenting. Dungeon Master Blaster, Vinsinger. Was Vinsinger here? Yeah, he was really quick. Audacity
here,
game.
yeah.
He was here. Hypnotic showing. Laura, thank you so much also to the Facebook community as well. And yes, man, thank you so much. Also to Jim, of course, everybody who commented. Thanks, man. Thanks. I really appreciate it. We don't really know what the next topic is gonna be for our next history session. Definitely another beautiful, deep dive into the past. Maybe we're going a bit away from Europe and kind of focusing our magnifying glass and searching for other mysteries in some other parts of the world. There are so many beautiful, incredible stories to unravel. You can catch me, what is today? Today is Tuesday, so you can catch me Thursday, right? Thursday, next Open Doodle, Open Class Doodles. It's Thursday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Then you can catch me on Saturday. We just recorded a beautiful masterclass last Saturday. I'm going to upload it, I think, tomorrow. We got talks on acting with the very famous Lucy Lennox on my YouTube channel, the COACHMC Studio. Lucy Lennox, one of the greatest casting directors on this planet. She has done, work for The Crown, Vicky Christie Barcelona, other great projects, and she just founded this Actors Home Network, which is a great network to kind of meet other actors, directors, producers, kind of work on your own portfolio. It's a real great community, and you get everything to know about that on my latest Talks on Acting video. I'm gonna publish a couple of ones. There is Stavros, the first Greek guy who was accepted at a comedy factory in LA. We have an interview with him coming up in the next weeks. And then we interviewed also Howie Wiseman, a great author who worked personally with Sandy Meisner, with Sanford Meisner in his early years, and has so much to tell about that experience with that illustrious, legendary acting teacher. So a lot of good content coming up on my channel as well. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Open Class Doodles episode 30, incredible, is in the books. We see you with the next one, guys. Thank you so much for stopping by. See you next time. And I believe now, yeah. Now,